Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us once again on the State of Freedom.
The State of Freedom is a listener-supported podcast. We're committed to pursuing the truth about policymaking, decisions, and situations in Louisiana and at the national level that stand to impact our freedoms.
Please become a monthly supporter of the State of Freedom at freedomstate.us as we continue to expand the voice of liberty across Louisiana and beyond.
If you're looking to invest in physical precious metals or convert your 401k to a precious metals backed IRA, please consider making your investment with our trusted partner, MetalStacks. Their prices regularly beat the big sites and they have no credit card fees or minimums. Shipping is free for orders over $500. Just visit metalstacks.com/dwalker or get there from our website, freedomstate.us. If you're interested in the IRA conversion, drop me a message at Danielle@freedomstate.us and I can get you connected with their white glove service. Welcome to the State of Freedom, everybody, where we are grounded in faith and committed to the core principles of giving voice to truth, living with courage, and taking action. It's Thursday, October 9th at 10 a.m. Central. I'm Danielle Walker, and I'm joined by my friend and unmatched fellow host, Chris Alexander. We are coming to you live on Voice of the People USA TV and radio network, on Rumble, X, YouTube, where they absolutely mercilessly suppress us, and on Facebook. If you are catching us later, you can listen to our podcast platforms like Spotify and Apple Podcast, as well as catching us right here on video. Well, today joining us are two gentlemen, and let me bring them to the front here, although we may have temporarily lost one of them. Nope. Yeah. I think we lost Gary temporarily, but we'll get him when he comes on. Joining us today are two gentlemen who have put themselves in the middle of the fight against carbon capture sequestration in Louisiana. They are constitutionalists who believe in the private property rights that are part of what make America so great. Gary Musgrove is a U.S. Air Force veteran who retired. Let's see what's going on here. Oh, now we have two Marks. Oh, dear.
He doesn't have a doppelganger that I'm aware of.
Look, if it's not something, it's something else sometimes. All right, let me kick this Mark out. Okay. All right. And then we have to let's see, okay. Y'all forgive me. I mean,
you're fine. You're good.
I don't know what's going on. Here we go. And all right. Let's see, where was I? Gary Musgrove is a U.S. Air Force veteran who retired from the Louisiana National Guard, and he's the owner of Kisatchie Hills Nursery, where he's continuing a family legacy of horticulture. And Colonel Mark Guillory is also a retired U.S. Air Force veteran who served as the legislative assistant to the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, as well as various other Air Force Pentagon level positions. We are looking forward to speaking with them and digging into the latest in this fight that's not only about the Green New Scam, but about the property owners of our state. Let's see. Here's Gary. It looks like we got him back. All right, Gary, welcome back. Welcome,
Can't
both
start
of you
without
gentlemen.
this guy. Yeah,
that's right.
Thank you.
All right. Well, look, let me get into the scripture of the day before we talk about the Green New Scam and all of the nefarious things that are going on in our state related to that. Let me find my Bible. I mean, you would swear I would have myself together a little bit better, but
the devil always tries to get in the way when you're about to do some really good stuff, but he can't stop us.
That's right. Today's scripture is 1 Timothy. If I can get there. 1 Timothy chapter 3, verse 16. All right. Well, I have it here on my screen, so I'll read it from my screen instead of from the Bible because it's taken me a little too long to find. It says, "For the mystery of righteousness is beyond all question. He was revealed as a human being and as our great high priest in the spirit. Angels gazed upon him as a man, and the glorious message of his kingly rulership is being preached to the nations. Many have believed in him, and he has been taken back to heaven. And he's ascended into the place of exalted glory in the heavenly realm. Yes, great is this mystery of righteousness." And Jesus is our righteousness. He's our high priest and our king. And this week, I have been pondering the mysterious nature of our faith. Even the most simple aspects of Christianity are wrapped in mystery. And the Lord has placed a desire in our hearts to search it out, to seek more about the person of Jesus, and to begin to scratch the surface of the mystery of the triune God, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. You know, in Revelation chapter 1, verse 6, the Apostle John calls us kings and priests unto our God. And in Proverbs 2:25, King Solomon says that it's the glory of God to conceal a matter, and it's the glory of kings to search it out. So let me encourage us today to take a step back and to revel and delight in the mystery of our Lord, the mystery of our faith. That we stir up, I want everyone to stir up your awe of the living God today and ask Him to guide you in getting to know Him in a new way.
Yeah.
It's easy to
And you
get
know
caught
what,
up in
Danielle?
religion.
No, that's okay. It is so powerful because as what you're praying today, because as we get to know the Lord, we will begin to understand that he has a specific role for each of us. He didn't create any
Yeah,
of us by accident. He didn't create any of us to just exist randomly. He has a purpose and a mission for each one of us. And we remember that the closer we get to him. And I think it's really
that's
important
true.
when you describe it, in those terms. Our two guests today clearly understand that they have a mission on this earth and are engaging in it actively, daily, and diligently, specifically the mission to protect our property rights, our land, and our health from a
Yeah.
scam called carbon capture sequestration. And I want to first of all thank both of y'all for being here with us today. What a privilege to have you here with us on the State of Freedom.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. We appreciate that, Danielle and
Yeah,
Chris. Thank you for the invitation.
absolutely. Um, you know, from what I understand, Gary, I want to go here first with you. You're not really by nature a political animal. You're a hardworking businessman. You own a nursery, and you try to live your life according to the Lord's commands and the laws of justice. But you find yourself in this fight against this scam of carbon capture sequestration. How did you get involved in this? What motivated you to become involved in this fight?
Well, it went back to the first meeting that I attended was in Pineville. It was when the police jury president, I believe at the time, or whoever it was who organized the meeting, LSU came down. And prior to that meeting, it was an educational forum of what carbon capture is, sun gas, Beaver Lake renewables coming in. And I started questioning one particular thing is when they talk injecting CO2, how does that happen? I've heard of taking things out of the ground. I just never heard of it putting things into the ground. So, um, so what I started looking into is uh, who owns property rights, just not on the surface level, but on the subsurface level. And so I started looking at pore space. Uh, that took me into water aquifers. It didn't take me but about 2 days of research, and then I realized that this is not good. This is not good for any of us, especially for the future of Louisiana, my grandkids. When you start talking about property and water, those two um, elements that are necessary for us to thrive, I got concerned. And like I said, it took me about 2 days to realize what this was. And I went to the public meeting. I just had one question. One question is who owns my pore space?
Oh dear. We got We lost Gary. I bet he'll come back. We were having a little trouble with connectivity with him. So,
Yeah.
but maybe, Mark, you could also tell us how you've gotten involved in this.
Yeah, I was invited to the Forest Hill meeting by a very close friend of mine that I've known for 30 years. And she said, "Have you heard about CCS?" I said, "What do you mean?" So she told me carbon capture and sequestration, and that they were having a meeting down in Forest Hill, and we're going to discuss it, go through all the process of it. So, okay. So I went down to the meeting and sat and listened, and uh, I was floored by what I heard. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. And the two things that stood out the most to me was the size of the Chico Aquifer, which I knew it was there, but I didn't realize it was that big, and that most of these wells were going to be in that aquifer. And even before I start hearing uh, Brad LeBlanc talk and John West talk, it sounds like it's a bad idea to poke holes in that thing and start pumping anything around there. So that's a big problem for me. But what really got me was when I heard about Act 61 and what the legislature has done. Um, that was it took me actually a couple of days to wrap my head around that. I went home. I got home a little bit late that night. First thing I did was sat down and went to Louisiana.gov on the legislature's website, and I pulled up Act 61. I began to read it, and I couldn't believe what I read. Then, of course, I go back to refresh my memory, which I'm rather aware of what the Constitution says, and I can't reconcile these two things. There's a problem. There's a significant problem, and what
Yeah.
the founding document that creates our government. Some people. It's been a while since they've been to civics class, and so it's important to understand what a constitution is. A group of people decide that they want to minimize and control the chaos around them, and so they want to form a government. And as part of forming the government, it's what the Constitution means. It constitutes what the government will look like. And it's important to understand that this Constitution is the foundation on which the government sits. They are not the same. The Constitution is the creator, and the government is the created. And I don't need to tell the two of you that the created doesn't tell the creator what to do. And the creator sets confines, restrictions, it sets borders, it sets powers, it sets all the things that the created can do. And this created constitution was by the people. That's what gives it its authority. The people give it authority. And then that constituted government is given authority and created. The legislature is created. The executive is created. The judicial is created. They are subservient to that constitution. So then when we start looking at it, well, what's the purpose of this government? Our Constitution is really clear what the purpose of our government is. In the preamble, the very beginning, the first paragraph of the document says, "We, the people of Louisiana, desiring to protect individual right to life, liberty, and property." Those are the essential rights that God gave us. And government is not there to give them to us. It's instructed to protect those rights that are ours already. And clearly, the preamble goes on to say, we do ordain and establish this Constitution. Continuing on, we find out the Constitution, just to make it clear, we're going to tell you what the origin of the Constitution is, and we're going to tell you what the purpose of the government that it's going to create. This is also in Article 1, Section 1. All government of right originates with the people, is founded on their will alone, and is instituted to do what? To protect the rights of the individual. Its only legitimate ends is protecting the rights of the individual's life, liberty, and property. These rights are enumerated. Enumerated means numbered. And in the article, clearly establishes that they are inalienable. That means it can't be separated from us. And not
Right.
only does it say it can't be separated from us, it even charges the state can't be is inalienable by the state and shall be preserved inviolate. You cannot violate these rights by the state. So not only does the Constitution say the point of the government is to protect your rights, I'm telling you that your job as the government is to make sure that those rights are not violated.
Yeah.
And
And
now
that's
we have
exactly, Mark, that's exactly the opposite, it sounds to me, of what was done through this Act 61, which declared, with no debate in the legislature, as a matter of Louisiana public policy, that this carbon capture sequestration, whereby carbon dioxide is captured from the air and buried in the ground permanently, somehow is a public good.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
it clearly it's not. And and I know that you know this very well. If you look at the Louisiana Constitution, Article 1, Section 4, which is much more specific and detailed
Absolutely.
than the federal Constitution, it seems clear on its face, as you pointed out when I met you at a recent town hall, that expropriation or the seizure of private property by a
Mhm.
private corporation cannot occur purely for economic benefit, even if one of the incidental effects, and we don't even concede this, is some public good, but we don't even concede that. But this is clearly what's going on here. I mean, they don't even argue anymore that this is a public good. They don't even make the argument anymore. So, is that your interpretation of the Louisiana
Well,
Constitution with regard to this activity?
Chris, it's not my interpretation; it's the words on the page. So I'll read it to you. Article 1, Declaration of Rights, Section 4, that you're talking about. It's got all these rights to property, and in the only exception to when private property can be taken by the government, and that's very important. It can only be taken by the government. I'm going to read a little bit from Act 61 here in a minute to tell you how shocking that is. But in Article 1, Section 4, whether the purpose is public and necessary shall be a judicial question. Nowhere in our Constitution is the legislature authorized to make a decision of deciding what is public purpose. They cannot do that. They cannot create a law. The Constitution not only empowers the government with authority, it also restricts that authority. And numerous times in our Constitution, the legislature's authority is restricted. As a matter of fact, I want to come back to another piece, but I'm going to jump ahead on one thing here. As a matter of fact, the uh, the legislature is even restricted from making special laws. Did you know that? Specifically gets called out in Article 3, Section 12, prohibitations. Except as otherwise provided in this Constitution, the legislature shall not pass a local or special law. And then it defines what a special law is. It says that a special law is something that is granting to any private corporation, association, or individual any special or exclusive right, privilege, or immunity. Act 61 gives private entities, I'll read it to you, in paragraph 1108, eminent domain. That's when the government, as you know, decides that it decides that your property is necessary for a road, for a bridge, for something of public use, not private use. And even then, Article 4 tells you exactly how you can take it, when you can take it, under what circumstances you can take it. It can be adjudicated. Again, the judicial branch decides if it's public purpose. That's why it goes to a court. But in Act 61, the legislature says any storage operator is hereby authorized to exercise the power of eminent domain and expropriate needed property. That sounds like that's pretty 180 degrees opposite when that's a special law. They've been given a special privilege, and the Constitution restricts the legislature from giving anyone shall not pass a local or special law granting private corporations. That's what this thing does.
Yeah.
So one of the biggest things about the legislators that bothers me is that this group of people, no matter how you define the situation, are incompetent. let's say that I didn't have time to read the bill, so I passed it. Well, you're incompetent because your passing legislation is extraordinarily important. And we send you to Baton Rouge to be aware of what you're doing and not to mindlessly vote for something. Well,
Yeah.
let's say that second, well, I didn't really understand what the statute said. Well, then you had no business voting yes. Again, you're incompetent. And the third thing is if you understood this law and you voted for this law, you violated your oath to protect the Constitution of Louisiana, and you fail to understand the basic public purpose of government. And if you fail to understand the basic purpose of government, what are you doing being a representative? You're giving
Amen.
away people's right to property. Number one in our Constitution, the purpose of government is to protect your right to life, liberty, and property. And you're going to go
Yeah.
give it away. And you're telling me that you want some kind of special dispensation that you made a mistake?
Yeah.
God
It's
forgives.
unbelievable.
Grace is a thing and God forgives. But there are some things that you pass the line on when it comes to human beings that you can be forgiven, but you need to move along.
Yes.
You simply are not competent to sit in those seats when you are giving away the three basic rights that the government is intended. The only purpose is to protect. And our
Yes.
Constitution even says, if it doesn't do that, it's illegitimate.
It's
It's on the
illegitimate.
page.
And
It's an
gentlemen,
illegitimate government.
I want to take us down a little rabbit trail, a little constitutional rabbit trail right now, if I can. What is our recourse? What is our recourse for these legislators who are operating far, far beyond the bounds of the scope of their office, who have shown in no way that they're able to self-restrict uh, what they're working on? Can we impeach them in some way for violating the oath of office if they're not upholding the Constitution, which you just laid out very beautifully, Mark?
Well, of course, any elected official can be impeached. That's how we legally and peacefully remove someone from office. But generally, they would have to violate. It's criminal activity. Now, can we impeach them for incompetence? I suppose I don't. I would have to look into that a little bit more.
Yeah.
But there are other ways for us to deal with this. And one of the ways, SaveMyLouisiana.org, it was an organization that was created, and the intent is that it would pursue legal remedies for those people, organizations, and even our own government that violates our right to property, our right to life and liberty, and is quite frankly trying to poison our water. So Save My Louisiana, what we are doing is that we are currently writing a legal action, a lawsuit that will sue the state over the unconstitutionality, challenging the constitutionality of Act 61. Now, as we read the words on the page, it is very clear to us in multiple places. We've only talked about 2 or 3 areas of the Constitution. We dig in to the property rights in Section 4. It's very, very clear that no land can be taken away by the government for a private person or entity. It not only says it once, it says it again, or transferred to the ownership of a private person or entity. So a legal action will be suing the state to say, look, questioning this law, saying on constitutional grounds, this law violates both the words on the page and the intent of the Constitution. The legislature simply was not authorized to make this determination to abrogate or to change or take away our right to life, liberty, and property. Now, the Constitution can be changed. There's a remedy. If you want to do this, you can do it. However, it has to be done by a state referendum.
Yeah.
There are several different ways where you can present an amendment, and that amendment then has to be presented to the state. The entire electorate has to decide whether or not they want to accept this amendment and make it part of the Constitution or not. The remedy is not, however, The legislature, the governor has no power to create a law that takes away my life, liberty, or property, and the legislature doesn't. Now,
That's correct.
one last thing, and I'll step back for a minute, but there are ways to take these three things away from me, and there are remedies. And that Section 2 of the Constitution says that these can be taken, but through appropriate law, the judicial, the process. That doesn't mean the legislature can make a new law that takes it away. That's not what it means. I have to be, if I've committed a crime, I have to be accused of the crime. I have to be charged for the crime, adjudicated, and then judged. And in that process, that is according to the law. Law is about bringing order to chaos. It's about ensuring that we live in a tranquil and civilized world. And so that is why if I've done something, then I can be, again, accused, adjudicated, and then judged by jury of my peers, very important, and then I'm punished according to statutes of the law that the legislature can create. So that's the only way one of those three things or all of those things can be taken away. There's no other way. The legislature doesn't have the authority.
And two quick points on that, Mark. And we can't emphasize this enough, and I think this could be at least anecdotal evidence in your lawsuit. We've looked at it very, very closely. We've watched the floor action on Act 61. We watched the committee hearings, and there was no debate whatsoever regarding whether or not this is, in fact, a public good, whether it's necessary for the public health, whether or not there are dangers to carbon capture sequestration, which are becoming increasingly well known, and even the merits of the whole basis for CCS, which is anthropogenic climate change, man-caused climate change. I mean, zero debate. It was simply declared as a matter of public policy that CCS is a public good for purposes of eminent domain and expropriation. That's the first point I wanted to make. And the second point, most recently in 2025, when all of these bills were put forward to try to roll back Act 61 and associated legislation and end this madness, none of the people who were pushing for it, industry, there was not one assertion, and I was there the whole time, that this is a public good for purposes of the environment. The whole argument was that this is for the economic benefit of the state, and it's going to bring all of these jobs, which makes our argument under Article 1, Section 4 of the Louisiana Constitution. They're making our argument, are they not?
Yeah. Here we go. Article 1, Section 4, right to property. Section 4, and then paragraph 3. Words on the page. Neither economic development, enhancement of tax revenue, or any incidental benefit to the public shall be considered in determining whether the taking or damaging of property is for the public purpose. So before you even get to public purpose, as the governor and others desire to tell us how much economic benefit that we're going to get out of this. By the way, that's greatly questionable. They never really explain where the economic benefit is going and who's going to be the benefactor of this benefit.
Great point.
It's clearly not Louisianians. When my property can be taken away by a private company and they can pump CO2 into the ground, which could poison my water. Who's the benefactor here?
Yeah, it's the company.
But the Constitution is very clear. Neither economic development or enhanced tax revenues can be considered. Now I want to point out something important that some of our distractors may immediately point to, and that is, let's see. In Section 6, or Article 6, Section 21, the Constitution does allow for assistance to local industry. Now, before you go hang your hat on that and say, well, that's what we're doing, that is more restricting of what can be done. And specifically, so that's eminent domain where land can be taken for public purpose, but it can only be taken by a political subdivision, public port commission, public port, harbor, and terminal district. It can't be taken by some private entity. So there's no contradiction in the Constitution, nor is there an exception that allows what the governor persists to do. And let me say, by the way, this governor didn't sign this act, but this governor is aware of this act. He has heard the bell. We have rung it for him, and he is doing nothing.
That's right.
What is he doing? We have brought this to the attention of the legislators. What are they doing? So don't tell me that you're concerned and you're going to listen to me when we have told you a former governor and a past legislator, some of them still in office, have abrogated our right to property. Your job is to protect us. That's why we put you there. What are you going to do about it?
Absolutely. I've got a little bit of breaking news here. Y'all may be aware of it, but I just received a letter to President Trump from 20 Louisiana state representatives, basically calling, the carbon capture sequestration, a scam, and urging the President of the United States to cut the funding, to cut the 45Q tax credits for carbon capture sequestration. I haven't even read the letter yet. I just glanced at it. So that's 20 Louisiana state reps, some of whom I've noticed voted for the carbon capture sequestration in Louisiana, and some of whom even voted against repealing it this last session. So I think that's an interesting development and probably the result of increasing public outcry on the issue. Gary, are you familiar with this? You may probably are not, because it just
I'm
a
not.
little while
I'm
ago.
not. It's just
I'm not
it's
either.
news, but it wouldn't surprise me that's where we're headed. I could see it happening when Director Lee Zeldin opened up the public comment hearing a month or so ago regarding taking carbon as a pollutant away from the emissions requirements by industry. I see it as a backdoor way of taking down the scam.
Yeah.
Everything that I've seen and everything I've read from President Trump is he's vehemently against this whole scam. But still, as powerful as he is, I don't believe he is as powerful as the lobbyists or industry or oil and gas or ADM, Archer's Daniel Midland, one of the biggest recipients of carbon 45Q tax credits in up in the Iowa and Ohio areas. There's over 200, 250 ethanol plants. That will be one of the biggest receivers of the 45Q. So it seems like it would have been just easy to scrub it from the big, beautiful bill. Obviously, we have rhinos that want to see this happen. And so Trump is faced with the fact that he has to deal with a bunch of rhinos.
Yeah.
And so
But
I see it coming. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, he has already instituted some pocket rescissions. So I'm hopeful that that is going to be something we see on these Q45 tax credits. One of my concerns is something that a previous guest brought up, which is even if we get rid of the Q45 or the Q series tax credits, we're still faced with the mandates of Europe on these big companies. And I think
Well, here's the thing. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, you're fine.
But I've gone down that road. There is no legislatively there's no mandates either in Europe or in the U.S. requiring carbon capture. There's policy directives, and there's some aspect
Scores?
the scores, that's right,
ESG.
the ESG, the carbon credits. Those are the drivers of this. But as far as legislatively mandating, whether it be in Europe or in the U.S., there are none. We're just we're beholden to what Europe is demanding. And that's if they want low carbon products, we have the natural resources. We'll sell it to you. Take it over there. You process it the way you want it processed. If you want to dump it and bury it in your ground on your water aquifers, then go right ahead.
Yeah.
But we don't have to do it here in the U.S., especially in Louisiana. Louisiana is not the dumping ground for the world. It's we need to get over that, and step beyond us being the dumping ground. Just because Europe wants a low carbon steel, they bought into the climate change. I call it hoax. All right, we can debate that later, but there is no place, nowhere on this planet that it makes sense to take a natural element and make it so unstable that it becomes very dangerous, and then shove it under our ground uh, against our own will, take our property from us in doing that, and risk our water aquifers. Uh, it's not a matter of if, it's when
Yeah.
it gets damaged.
And Gary,
Mhm.
you are a nursery owner, as Danielle and I were discussing at the big, at pre-show. The Forest Hill is, the nursery capital of Louisiana, and
Absolutely.
and it seems like if anybody has a vested interest in ensuring that this doesn't happen, it's you.
Absolutely. You get, we all know, I hope the public's educated on what happens when you mix CO2 with water. You get carbonic acid. It drops the pH in the water, it begins to leach metals, and it completely destroys your water. You won't be able to grow anything here in
It-
Forest Hill, much less just growing. We're talking about the health drinking. It's our life
Absolutely.
source.
Yeah,
It's
plants are
it,
awesome,
it
but what about people?
I know everybody depends on this water. Look, not just Louisiana, Texas. If you have listeners in East Texas, wake up, because we share this Chico aquifer with you. It goes well into East Texas, and
Yeah, it sure does.
we start damaging this water aquifer here in Louisiana. It Texas, you're going to feel it as well.
Yeah, that's such a great point, Gary. And I would encourage people in that connection to listen to our interview with Wayne Christian, the Texas
Yeah.
Railroad Commission, who came on and talked about this very issue and was very clear and did not mince words about the danger of this enterprise. I mean, he was very, very clear. It's Wayne Christian, and I would encourage our listeners to go back and listen to that. Um, Mark, can I ask you another question about the lawsuit?
Yes.
What is the primary basis of the lawsuit, as I understand it, is that Act 61 and associated legislation, not just Act 61,
That's
but if you take
correct. Yes.
but associated legislation
Mhm.
facially violates the Louisiana Constitution because it authorizes the seizure of private property through eminent domain for an activity that is purely economic, for an activity that does not serve the public good. And is that generally the basis for the lawsuit? You're arguing the constitutionality of the act?
That's correct, but it does two things. It authorizes private entities, first of all. It gives them authority over me. Secondly, it not only gives them authority over me, it gives them authority to take away one of my basic rights. Remember, one of the reason that the Constitution looks the way it does is because the intent is that it equates me with everyone else. That means little old me is this same size as the state of Louisiana. That's what it does. It means ExxonMobil is the same size as little old me. It gives us a level playing field, and that they do not have authority over me in any way. And what the legislature has done is said, no, we're going to put a private company for private economic gain an authority over you. Well, that's the whole basis of the Constitution, is in order to keep that from happening. It's so that I can stand toe to toe against someone who wants to take away my life, my liberty, and my property. The point of
Well,
government, again, is to protect me from you, Chris, and you from me, much less the government from taking those things or a private entity. So it's two things. Not only the unconstitutionality of Act 61 because it authorizes a private entity, literally government authority. It gives them government authority. And there's a term called inherently governmental power. We've seen this term pop up in the Supreme Court and other different courts. Inherently governmental power means a power that only the government can have. Only the government can take away my life, liberty, and property. Anybody else tries to do that, it's a criminal act.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
and you know what else came to mind when you were speaking, Mark, is just this idea that the government, these legislators that are so willing to make us subservient to these private entities, maybe
Mm-hmm.
they're so comfortable doing that because they have already made themselves subservient to those private entities, and that's what we're living in the reality of.
That is a legitimate question that citizens should always be asking of their government. What is your interest in this matter?
Yeah.
What are you doing? We not only have a right to know, we have an obligation to find out because we are the governed. You don't get just to decide what you want to do. You have to ask us first. We give the permission.
Exactly. We get
We
the
created the
information.
Constitution. We are the authority that
Yeah,
created the authority that created the government. You are subservient to us, not the other
right.
way
Mark,
around.
I want you to go and teach the welcome class for the new legislators and just remind everybody
You
when the
should.
new
You should do that. That's
Absolutely.
a great idea, Danielle. Mark, you are
I don't know if they like me
obviously,
too much.
I
well,
don't
they may
care.
not like you, but you're the
They don't.
bearer
I
of
don't know how
truth
much
on
they
this.
like us either.
Well, that's true. That's true. We're not going to win a popularity contest, except probably with the majority of Louisiana citizens, and that's the only popularity contest we care about here. But I wanted to ask you also, Mark, this idea of core rights that the government has to respect, no matter what. It goes back to John Stuart Mill, who I'm sure you're aware of, and
Mhm.
who taught, and Alex de Tocqueville as well, who talked about the tyranny of the majority, and making the argument that we do not live in a pure democracy. We live in a
No,
No.
constitutional republic, and
republic.
neither a majority of citizens or a majority of legislators have the natural or constitutional right to abridge the rights of even one person. And that's what you're getting at here
It's
when you
exactly
say
what
that,
we're talking about.
they just don't
The
have
words are on
that
the
right.
page. Mhm.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think it sounds to me like you've got a very good argument under the Louisiana Constitution, even much more so than under the federal Constitution, which has only one sentence in the Fifth
Mhm.
Amendment about eminent domain, and that's it. But our Constitution is fertile ground here, and a very, I think, promising argument that you have, if not a
Well,
winning one.
well, we think so too, but the other side always gets a vote, so to speak, when it comes to contests like this. And one of the concerns that we have, we want to ensure that we are heard before an unbiased court, and that our argument is genuinely heard and genuinely weighed, and the facts considered. We think that when these facts are considered, the words on the page again, they're not hard. They're not
Yeah.
hard to understand. They're very clear. The words on the page of Act 61 are very clear. One of the most shocking parts about it is when it's later on in 1110, where the legislature goes further and gives foreign powers the authority to take my land. Again, I was shocked, especially in the Constitution. It's very clear, Article 6, Section 21, that property will not be allowed to be given to aliens or foreign powers. It's pretty daggum clear. And even if you don't understand the words, you should at least understand the fact that those words are on the page, that there is an intent there that no foreign entity, whether it's foreign to the state in the fact that it's in Mississippi or that it's in Germany, no one outside of our state, however you're going to define foreign, has the authority to come in and take my property. You just
Yeah.
can't do it.
And what does
And
that
the
tell you?
legislature, again,
Yeah.
doesn't have
What
the
a
authority to
betrayal.
change it.
What an absolute betrayal, exactly. And Gary, what does that tell you when we have, so when these foreign corporations now have statutory authority to come in and take the land of Louisiana citizens, what does that tell you about who's going to be probably doing the work? Speaking of economic benefit, who's going to be doing the work? People who are coming in here to do these jobs, or are these jobs going to go to Louisiana citizens? I don't even think that they've made a successful argument that this is going to be a real economic boon to our state, even assuming it's a meritorious enterprise. What do you
They
say?
haven't. They haven't. Um, the industry comes in the way they and the colonel may have already alluded to this, but industry, what they're doing right now is they're coming into police juries throughout the parishes, and predominantly biomass industry is coming in, and they're enticing them with pennies over $1,000 bills is what they're doing. We're going to give you $10 million a year. We'll give you $250,000 to your local school board. In the meantime, promising jobs. But when you dig into the actual companies themselves, we're talking a handful of jobs in the end. One production well, it's the Magnolia. I believe it's the Magnolia hub down in Allen Parish, one of the sequestration hubs. They'll be injecting the CO2. Uh, when it came down to the end, how many jobs is that going to create? It was one job. One job. You'll have a big boom in the beginning with construction, but that's done. It's over, and now that one well is primed to make on a low end about $10 million a month on a low end off of people's property. They get that. That is so absurd that that our legislators gave the eminent domain authority to a private company to come in and take your poor space under duress. You may sign a contract, but you're still under duress to sign it. If not, you're subject to whatever offers they give you, but you still have to sign it. And then you're left with nothing but a wasteland while they're making millions upon millions upon millions, and not one dime is going to be going to any type of economic development impact. Why? Because most of these companies have tax abatements that go out 10 years. All oil and gas offshored to foreign markets are tax exempt. Where's the economic development when we're talking about a police juror that gets this vision of $1 billion plant coming into their company, into their parish? It's fallacy.
Yeah.
Are you so blinded with the dollar signs that you cannot see reality when it slaps you in the face? It doesn't exist. It's
Well, this
a
is,
smoke and
yeah.
mirrors.
This
Yeah,
is
and I'd
important. Go
I'd
ahead,
love
Danielle.
to get back to this idea of betrayal as well, by allowing foreign entities to be part of this eminent domain. I don't the giving,
They are
that
authorized eminent domain. Any
yes,
domestic, I'm reading from the act, any domestic or foreign corporation is authorized the power of eminent domain.
I
Uh,
just want to pull that thread into something we saw that's very concerning and has been very concerning to Chris and I, that from this past session, which is the legislature did a campaign finance uh, reform bill. And in that reform bill is a gaping hole the size of China, that says that foreigners, including basically foreigners and including foreign adversaries who are not on our soil, are able to donate to the campaigns of our of any candidate that's running for office in our state. So if you want to pull this thread a little bit further, you can see who these people are working for, and it's not us.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
exactly right.
yeah, that is a significant problem. And anytime politicians get together and decide they're going to have campaign reform, campaign finance reform, it's smoke and mirrors to build a facade of protection while it's porous on the bottom and around the edges where they
Yeah.
get even more. That's
Exactly.
that's the famous campaign finance reform from years ago at the federal level that created PACs and all these other kind of things, made it far worse than it was to begin with. But they claimed victory on that. One of the other things that I wanted to bring up is, so, Gary is talking about, and so you, Danielle, about the legislators, but Gary brought up police juries. What are police jurors going to do? They took an oath as well.
That's
And their
right.
oath wasn't to the parish and it wasn't to the state government, it was to the Constitution. What about parish sheriffs? What are you going to do, sheriff, whatever your name is? What are you going to do? What are you going to do when eminent domain is declared by company X and comes to you and says, we're exercising the law and we want you to go with us out to this person's property and serve them the papers that we can take away their land? Are you really going to execute a law like that? Have all of our parish sheriffs sat down recently? They're well-educated men. Sit down and read the Constitution. It's easy to find. It's right on Louisiana.gov. It's right there. It says Constitution. You can read through the appropriate parts that we're talking about here. Just read the first 4 sections. That's all you need to do. And then tell me that you are going to take away someone's property for a private company. Sheriffs, you have an obligation. You have an obligation to protect and defend. Haven't we been talking about that from the beginning of the whole purpose of government? Protect and
Yeah,
defend. Protect and defend what? Those 3 things: life, liberty, and property. You protect and defend those 3 things, then you will take care of everything that we need as citizens of Louisiana. It's not complicated. But
yeah.
what are you going to do? What's a police juror going to do?
And that's such
You know,
what a great point you make there, Gary. Uh, and so they come in here, and in order to avoid the unpleasantness that you just described, by the way, sheriffs do have the constitutional authority to reject that type of activity. They're the most powerful law enforcement official in any parish, and they are liable only to the Constitution. And that is why that's a great question you ask. Where are they on this? Where do they stand? Um, but so they're coming in, and according to what you said a few minutes ago, Gary, I want to make sure I understood this right. Are they basically coming in, and perhaps in order to avoid the unpleasantness of forcible seizure of property, are they coming in and trying to buy off the locals? Is that what
Absolutely.
basically is happening here?
Absolutely. I can, okay, for example, in Vernon Parish is police jury. I mean, they haven't hidden this fact that they've negotiated a rate of, I think it's about a $1.30 per metric ton that they will receive in in funds from the company that's doing the Sinlaw Hub is called Capture Point. Capture Point will be one. It's the company drilling that injection well. Uh, they're in the process of that now. They're going through the permitting. But when that well comes online, it's a 20,000 acre plume well. On the low end, that well will make about $10 million a month. The low end. Um, High end, we're talking upwards to 450 million a year. You know what they promised them? $10 million a year. That was enough to grab that police jury and say, listen, help us sway the public's opinion, and you'll get this $10 million a year. And I told, and I went to that police jury meeting, and I told them, Guys, you're stepping over pennies. I mean, stepping over $1,000 bills. If let's say if this is what you want, if the people want this, are you that blind that you're stepping over $1,000 bills to pick up a penny? Because you are now going to jeopardize your entire water supply for $10 million a year. How many
Yeah.
miles of road does that going to build you in your parish?
That's right.
10?
An empty parish now because the water has been poisoned.
Yeah,
That's right.
exactly.
And your property values dropped. No one's moving in anyway. So yeah, are they buying the police jury? In a roundabout way, yes. Alan
And even the
Parrish,
10 million,
Alan,
Gary, and even the 10 million is not going to the property, the people whose property is being seized, right?
no,
It's going to the local
no,
government.
But
that's right.
where is this money coming from? Like, how are they actually making money?
It's
From
coming from
us,
you, Danielle.
you.
That's
It's
right.
Our
coming from
money.
your taxes.
It's
That's
it's
what's
the, it's
that's
the
what
It's the biggest
45.
scam. It's the
it's
biggest
the
scam
worst
you can
part about the whole
imagine.
thing.
They're
I'm going to
coming in
destroy
and
your
giving
life,
the
and I'm going to
$10
use your
million
money to do
of your money to them. It's not
Yeah,
their money.
but of the $450 million that they stole, that they charged you / stole from you / extracted from you, then you can have just these little pennies back, you poor little peasant.
Yeah.
That's
So,
absolutely unbelievable. What about the EPA? Let's assume that the EPA comes out, Lee Zeldin, and there's an actual repeal of the 2009 Obama endangerment finding that CO2 is a threat to the public health and welfare, and that is formally repealed. CO2 is no longer a pollutant. Doesn't that cut the knees completely out from under the whole enterprise? The tax credits, the public argument that it's a public good, all of that, if that is repealed?
I think it would. However, we're still dealing with rhinos trying to make a dollar off of this. The Q45 was written into the IRS. I mean, it's in the IRS tax code. You could cut that through from the EPA, but unless Republicans pass legislation to repeal that 45Q tax credit, it's still there. It'll
Mhm.
still be there. And as long as Europe continues mandating low carbon products, the need for manufacturing to supply that product will still be there because there's profit. Um, as long as we're giving them our tax dollars to make that profit. That tax credit goes away, then that changes their entire uh, uh, business model. It changes how they financially survive. For example, Highland Pellets is the biomass uh, industry that wants to set up shop in, I say set up shop, but set up business in Vernon Parish. They're from Pine Bluff, Arkansas. Guess what? They have a production plant in Pine Bluff, Arkansas that is making money, is profitable, and they're not sequestering CO2. They want to build that same plant in Vernon Parish, and that's the one that's offering some money. We're going to give you $1 billion plant with a B. That parish hasn't seen anything like that in their parish ever. Those other police jurors are, yeah, what is this going to look like? Yeah, we finally get economic development, but at what risk? We're going back to our water aquifer. So the one of the executives during that police jury discussion said, and I've heard this several times now from executives of these companies. Robert Rigdon with Sun Gas Renewables, they want to put a plant out at the old International Paper Mill site. It's another biogas industry for green methanol. They all say if it's not for the 45Q tax credit, they wouldn't be coming here. Period.
And I couldn't agree with you more. which brings me to this point. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Uh,
Mhm.
quoted in a documentary in 2024, which expresses exactly what our view is on this, and I think what most people's view is on this. It says the CCS industry is planning close to 100,000 miles of CO2 pipelines. This is something that would never happen in a free market economy. It's only happening thanks to billions and even hundreds of billions of dollars in tax credits in the Biden administration's Inflation Reduction Act. So, Gary, you're saying you take away the 45Q, you take away all the tax subsidies. There is no demand for this. There's no market demand for this.
None. None. They pack up, they go home. Europe figures it another way. Or how about this, Europe? You buy our product as it is.
Yeah. Mark, how do you, what about the reverse argument, Mark? Not only is carbon capture sequestration not a public good, not for the public benefit, it's actually just the opposite, both fiscally, environmentally, and in terms of our physical health. It's just the opposite of what it's predicated on.
Well, part of what we keep talking about, the point of government is to protect life, liberty, and property. And part of that is government. There are no laws, there are no policies, there's nothing that should be created by government that doesn't do those three things. Part of what the environmental laws are about is protecting our lives. If you poison our water, there's a picture just put up there. Daniel just put up there. This is from the U.S. Geological Survey from last year, and it talks about that orange yellow area is the Chico Aquifer, and then at the top there you got a purple, a green, and a red, and that is the Jasper and the Catahoula aquifers. So this is this is nearly 2/3 of the state. And from here, I think the number is 48% of our fresh water that we drink every day, that sustains our life, that sustains our animals, that sustains our agriculture, that is essential to living. Water is essential to living. I know this is a shocking statement, but it's true. And this is where our water comes from. Most of these wells are going to be inside this yellow zone. And what is that going to do? The state has the obligation to protect me from other people who would take away my life. If you take away the essence of sustaining my life, water, then you are violating my right to life. You can't do that. No more than you can decide that you're going to push me off the side of a building or shoot me with a gun or just randomly do whatever you want to. We have laws that protect me from you doing that to me. Well, this is a significant environmental impact, potential environmental impact. All the economic gain in the world is pointless if you poison this aquifer and poison it in multiple places. It becomes useless. It makes the ground useless. But who is it useful to, though, Chris? It's useful to these companies that now will be willing and able to stand there and take your worthless property for a worthless price because it's invaluable to them because they can keep on making money. You can't live there. You can't have liberty there. They can even take your property there. And oh, by the way, there's no reason for you to live here anymore because you can't. You can't drink the water. May as well move along. Here's a couple of bucks. And they gain exactly what they want. This is the political agenda of the climate change. How much land, how much property can we take and we own? And
welcome to your 15-minute city.
Yeah. To your 15-minute city.
Yeah.
Hey, we're gonna take up some more land up in southern Arkansas from all those people. We're going to build an area where we can move this entire population up there. And it's going to be a city where you don't have to worry about anything. Everything's going to be there for you and taken care of. You won't own it, but no problem because you don't have any money to buy anything because your property is worthless. You can't really sell it and get any value out of it, but that's okay. And now we have gone from being able to put 40%. I think the estimate is something like 40% of just the U.S.'s carbon under our ground. But now you got yourself a huge dump. You can
Yeah.
pump in more.
Because of the scope of this threat, is there a role for our attorney general?
Absolutely. Absolutely. The attorney general ought to be looking at Act
Right
61
now.
and saying, well, hang on now, this is a violation of the Constitution. It's pretty clear. The words on the page of the Constitution are clear. The words on the page of Act 61 are clear. These things do not go well together. As a matter of fact, they are opposed to one another directly. So maybe
it
we
would
I
be
should do
think
something
possible.
about
perhaps
this.
I think
Yeah.
perhaps we need to put a letter together to both AG Liz Murrill and to Ken Paxton, since Texas has some impact potentially as well. See what
Yeah.
happens.
Well, we've discussed this before, Danielle, on another issue, and we actually asked the Attorney General to issue an advisory opinion on the constitutionality of another statute, and she declined to do so because she said it's the policy of her office not to issue advisory opinions if there's either anticipated or actual litigation involved in it. And our response to that was simply, it seems like if there was ever a time when an advisory opinion on the constitutionality of something is needed and warranted, it's when the state is about to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars defending a lawsuit.
Well,
You know,
that's the beauty of the peer pressure of having Ken Paxton on there, because he's not afraid of action.
he's not afraid. He's not afraid of action. Exactly. So, but you know what? It's certainly worth a cry. I want to ask you this last question, Mark, and if you want to weigh in, and if Danielle, you got another question, but I have to know this. Barry Huggins is a chemical engineer, very, very bright, and I've talked to him about this issue, and he said, remember that, there's going to be property owners in the state who are going to come to the conclusion, well, you know, my property is not being affected by this. My property is not being seized or expropriated, so it doesn't affect me. His position is that once this poison is injected under the ground, you never know where it's going to go. You never know where it's going to end up, and it could end up affecting the property and the property value of people whose property has not been expropriated. And I think that's important for people to remember as well.
Well, it's not only that. Yeah, Brad LeBlanc talks about the same thing. He's a geologist saying, things move underground. It's not some contained area that's never going to move. It's constantly moving, and especially where we are, things are constantly moving. So you don't know where you're pumping the CO2 under tremendous pressure. When you put something under pressure into a container, it is going to look for a way out. That's called physics. And it's going to find these weak wells that have been capped off, and other natural geological ways for this pressure to come out of the ground. And when it does, it can create havoc there. It can get into our aquifer. The pipes going, as you drill through the aquifer, this stuff is very corrosive. It can damage those pipes. It gets in aquifer. It's a problem. So yes, when people say, "Hey, I'm not a landowner, so that doesn't really affect me," I have two things to say to them. First of all, you drink the water that comes from your city water source or your well. That water is coming from the Chico aquifer, so it absolutely is going to affect you. Second of all, if you allow this to stand, when companies and organizations do things like this, when you get to a certain percentage of authority and power, then you're able to roll over anyone. What happens when they decide they've taken enough power, they've been able to roll over people and take their land, and they decide they're going to build a pipe through your subdivision because that's the best place to go? What are you going to do about it? There's nothing you can do about it. Oh, they're not going to take property around from subdivisions. You give them enough power, they will, because they will do whatever it takes to make sure they get the 45Q, to make sure they get the billions of dollars that they need. And you are, buy your Hope subdivision for $1 billion. It's a drop in the bucket. It's no big deal. Go find someplace else to live.
Yeah.
So it affects all of us. It's your water, and yeah, it could possibly come to your property. Not even to mention the other implications of allowing the legislature to abrogate, to change your rights as guaranteed in the Constitution. What's the next thing they're going to pass?
That's right.
When are they going to ignore the Constitution on some other issue? Oh, Mark, that's not going to happen. Really? Let me remind you of the COVID era and what we went through.
That's
And
right.
we were told on airplanes,
Yep.
it is federal law that you wear a mask. An absolute failure to understand, number one, how a law is made. The Congress didn't act, the president didn't sign anything, and the executive does not have the authority to make a law and never did. Neither does the FAA. That's just a small example. Whether you're in a store, or the law says you have to be 6 feet apart. The law says this. The law never said any of those things. But you said it so often, people began to believe it, and many complied because they were afraid of the law that didn't exist.
That's right.
So don't tell me that this can't slide into some place where we don't want it to go. Power unchecked will continue to fill the vacuum left behind it. And it will take
That's a
more
great,
and
great
more and
phrase.
more.
Power unchecked will continue to fill the vacuum left behind it. That's a great, great phrase. So well expressed. And the, you know, the argument is, our founders' belief was that, when you allow the first encroachment by government on a core constitutional right, from there, it's just a matter of time and degree before it becomes more egregious, more egregious, and more egregious. The erosion of liberty, as James Madison said, is not one single precipitous loud burst. It is death by 1,000 cuts. And that's why it is so important here that we do not allow this precedent to be established in our state for all the reasons that we've discussed here today. It's so
Yeah,
important.
it is.
Chris,
And
Danielle,
could I
any
add?
final comments?
oh, go
Gary,
ahead,
any final
Gary.
comments?
I just want to add one thing, and I apologize at the beginning with my signal loss. So you may have already discussed this, but
We're glad we
one
got
thing
you
I want,
back.
one thing I want people to understand is that this is a new science. This is new. The talking points that are coming around from industry, the talking points from Governor Landry, the talking points from economists such as Dr. Scott, is that this has been happening for 30 and 40 years. They're equating enhanced oil recovery with permanent geologic storage of CO2. It's never been done in Louisiana. It's not been going on for over 30, 40 years. In fact, it was in 2009 that Louisiana made it legal to sequester carbon. We just approved the very first Class 6 well. The Department of Natural Resources just approved the very first well last week down in Hackberry. So for economists such as Dr. Scott and the governor to keep telling people, oh, we've been doing this for 30, 40 years. Look, you're either misleading, or you're misinformed, or you're lying.
Yeah.
That's
In other words,
people need
there's
to
no intention
understand.
of ever getting this back. There's no intention of ever getting this back out of the ground, Gary.
Never, never. And our whole model on our oil and gas is to take it out. Everything has been taken out. Now we're putting something in permanently forever.
Which we have
And
no
I
idea
want
what will happen to it.
Right.
what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Not at all. It is very new. The only other location that it's currently being sequestered in the United States is up in Decatur, Illinois, and it's already leaking into their water aquifer.
I read that.
Their governor, their legislators, they had to pass a law banning sequestration around that aquifer just this past month. That's the only location in the U.S. that is currently being sequestered.
And I just want to make a fine point on that. If Governor Pritzker is going to stand up for the people of Illinois, what is Jeff Landry doing?
Yeah, that's
That's
a really
a-
good question.
Excellent point. Speaking of Jeff Landry, Danielle, I understand through our exceedingly effective grapevine that today is the last day for Governor Landry to fulfill a promise that he made in a meeting of landowners on September 10th. He promised that if you don't want carbon capture sequestration in your parishes, you don't have to have it. Give me 30 days to come up with a proposal and a solution. Well, today is the 30th day. So we will see what he does and if he is faithful to that commitment that he made in that meeting. But I wanted to bring that up in connection with what is Governor Landry doing? Hopefully something, even if it's here at the 11th hour.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know, I want to remind you guys and our listeners before we let you go that we've got a call to action on lacag.org on this very issue, specifically as it relates to the health of this and also eminent domain. You can do it at the Action Center, lacag.org. We've had hundreds and hundreds of emails that have already gone to the governor and to others on this issue. So weigh in the spirit of John F. Kennedy, who said, "We are the boss. Remember, we are the boss. We will get the government that we demand and we deserve. And if you don't demand good government, you're not going to get it." That's it for me on this end, Danielle.
No, that's it. Thank you, gentlemen, so much for spending some time with us, for sharing your
Yeah.
expertise,
Thank you.
for digging into this issue that's so vital to the future of our state. We really appreciate it. Do you know, are there any hearings or town halls that are coming up that people should be aware of?
Yes, there. Let's see. Get to my calendar here. We do have a town hall that's going to be in Beauregard Parish on the 14th of October, and then let's see. And then there's also a town hall on the 20th of October in Leesville. Now, where those places are, I don't know yet. We're very soon going to have those events placed on our calendar of events on SaveMyLouisiana.org, where you
Okay.
can find that. And also there's an opportunity there for you to donate to help us fund this legal action. There is no such thing as free.
No.
There is no such thing as free. Everything costs something.
The
And
only
one of
thing
the
that's
last
free,
things
Mark,
that
the only thing that's free, Mark, is the $10 million a year that, well, it's free to the corporations that are giving the $10 million a year to the local governments because we're paying for it.
but that's not free because I'm paying for it and you're
Well, that's
paying
what I
for it.
mean.
We're all
It's
paying
free
for
to
it.
them.
So yeah, there's simply no such thing as somebody
Yeah.
somewhere is paying the bill.
That's
There's no
right.
such thing. It might not be any cost to you, but somebody's paying. And on those two things, I would like to say three things in closing for me is we must always remember that we have a right to our property, and our property is our generational wealth. It is how we take care of our future. We take care of it now. It's our stewardship responsibility, and then we hand it off, and it's the wealth that we can hand off. What Save My Louisiana is doing is we are using the avenue of legal remedy to call into question Act 61's constitutionality. And we also intend to ask legally questions about, have you completed environmental impact studies on completely and comply with all the laws, Safe Drinking Water Act and all the other laws on our entire Louisiana aquifer? We want to know that. We also want to move in the direction of helping those who have been forced under duress to sign leases that were unconstitutional to begin with, and now they can't get out of them. And so we want to be a part of that. There are also environmental impact studies that haven't been created, that FOIAs have not been answered, about the Kisatchie National Forest. We have endangered species that are unique to us in our Kisatchie, and we plan to put this stuff around them. That doesn't sound like a good idea to me. And the last thing I have to say, and this is to listeners out there, is if you haven't heard about this yet, and today's the first time, you've heard the bell. The bell is rung, so you've heard it. What are you going to do about it? Lots of people sat on their porches and would say, well, I'm gonna when they. I'm gonna when they. They're come take my guns. I'm gonna. Well, here we are. We're there. These people have come to take away one of your three basic guaranteed rights the government is required to protect. The wolves are at the door. What are you going to do? Are you going to let somebody else, let me and Gary go out there and fight this for you and deal with the situation and find money to spend for it? Are you not going to defend your own basic right to property? You're going to let someone else do it for you? What are you going to do? The bell is rung.
Great point.
You don't just have to give money. You can come and support us at the meetings. You can get involved and be at the meetings. You can talk to your representatives and get them off to the side. Don't get in a fight with them. Just ask them, what were you doing? Did you understand what you were doing? Are you going to fix it? Of course, there's always a way to donate as well. But the question is, now, what are you going to do?
That's right. Excellent.
Yeah, and
Well
if you
said.
have a special skill set, a talent, we need your help. Like the Colonel said, we can't do it by ourselves. We need help. So if you do have a skill set or a talent that you can plug in, go to Save My Louisiana and sign up and help us in the fight. I almost said it, Colonel. Help us in this battle.
And we're going
Just
to
to
be doing that
clarify,
right
I heard.
here.
Hold on, I heard two web addresses: Save My Louisiana and Save Our Louisiana. Which one is it? I'm sorry.
It's SaveMyLouisiana.org.
Okay, I got it wrong then. Okay, we'll get the right one in the show notes, and I'll put it in the comments.
And we'll
Our
be doing
land,
our part
our
right here
water,
for
our
y'all,
property.
for sure. We'll be doing our part to spread the word all over the state of Louisiana on the state of freedom. And LeCag, for its part, has done a legislative summary on the Beauregard reps and Calcasieu reps and senators on 18 or 20 votes, dealing specifically with CCS and eminent domain that we are circulating. I think one of the great weapons that we have is information and letting voters know specifically how their legislators have voted so they can make informed decisions when they go vote, and also reach out to their legislators, as you said, Gary, and ask them about this. It's really important. So maybe y'all can get that at some point up on your website as well.
Yeah, and we'll
Yep.
be putting that in the show notes. Thank you, gentlemen, so much, and we will
Thank you.
love to stay in touch with you about this.
God bless
Thank
you.
you.
All right, Chris, what a gift these two gentlemen are to our state. I mean, they have dug in, and I was so impressed with the Colonel's knowledge of the Constitution. And I think what Gary said about the police juries and the sheriffs is absolutely vital.
No question about it. Constitutional sheriffs, and that is something they have to be aware of. They have a uniquely powerful role
Yeah.
in helping to protect Louisiana citizens, the sheriffs, and of course, the local police juries for sure. I think it's very sad that these corporations are trying to buy off the local police juries, for this. I think that's really sad. And I think that perhaps even sadder is that some of these police jurors are vulnerable to being
Yeah.
bought off.
It's true.
Uh,
I'm reminded of what James O'Keefe said not too long ago. What's your price? Is it $1 million, 5 million, 10 million? If you have a price, if there's a number, then you have a price.
yeah.
You shouldn't be able to be bought off. This is people's lives.
Absolutely, people's lives. And I think these guys covered this issue in a very comprehensive way and in a way that really brings it home to every Louisiana citizen that we all have a vested interest in
Yeah.
defeating this. It's
Yeah.
not the guy down the street. It's not the guy with 50 acres 2 or 3 miles away from you. It's all of us,
It
both
is all
because
of
of the
us.
precedents that's being set and from a practical point of view, how we can all be affected by how this poisoned carbonic acid moves under the ground, and we never know where it's going to end up. And I think they made those points, I think very, very well.
I agree
I'm
with
also
you.
interested, Danielle, in the letter that the state reps, the 20 state reps sent this morning to President Trump. And we'll be posting it up on LeCag. I'm sure, the State of Freedom will probably post that letter as well. I think that's a
Yeah.
great development.
That's excellent. That's absolutely excellent. And I think you're absolutely right that if members of our legislature are on that letter who voted in Act 61 and voted against repealing it this past session, it's because a serious fire has been lit under their bum. And that is just a fact.
That's a fact. And our group, the State of Freedom, Louisiana Citizen Advocacy Group, Save My Louisiana, Alliance Against Carbon Capture Sequestration, and all of the groups in this coalition that we have formed all deserve great credit for the fact that that letter went to President Trump either yesterday or today. And
Yeah.
the only reason why it was done was because of grassroots activism, which once again is being proven that it works.
Yeah, and on the issue of grassroots activism, Chris, I just want to encourage our viewers on one more point. If you are in a grassroots organization, or if you're just a single concerned citizen, go and talk not only to your police jury member, don't only address the police jury, but go and inform your sheriff that this is coming to knock on their door and you expect them to take appropriate action. I think that the sheriffs need to be aware of this, and I'm not sure that they are. You know, maybe the ones in the most critical parishes where this is actually being a heated debate are, but places like Terrebonne, I'm not sure. Places like East Baton Rouge, I'm not sure that the sheriffs are aware. So let's just make sure that we are equipping these sheriffs to be able to take appropriate action when that does come to their doorstep.
Specifically, Danielle, the sheriff of Beauregard Parish, the
Yeah,
sheriff of Allen Parish, as you said, as you're alluding to, the sheriff of Vernon Parish.
yeah,
Those are the parishes that really are in the bullseye right now for this.
yeah,
So I think it is incumbent upon the sheriffs of those parishes to understand what their responsibility is, and if they exercise that responsibility of the Constitution faithfully, other sheriffs are very likely to follow suit. But it takes a few with courage, as you know, to light the fire and to inflame the streets of life so that all the rest of us can see. A few
th-
courageous people in the beginning, Danielle.
that's right. And just a couple of announcements, Chris, before we go. We will be back here on Tuesday, 10 a.m. Central, with more talk on carbon capture and sequestration with an unlikely ally, an environmentalist from Healthy Gulf. Scott Eustace will be with us, and he'll be talking about his perspective on CCS and why he is adamantly against it, and why their organization is against carbon capture in Louisiana. And also another reminder to get out to vote in your local elections this Saturday. This Saturday is an election for clerk of court in Terrebonne. I know it's for a city court judge that we had. We had Brendan Craig on Tuesday. He's on the ballot in East Baton Rouge. I'm sure there are elections all across the state for similar races. So please get out and vote. And if you're not sure who to vote for, I'm sure you have some good people in your pocket to dial a friend and say, "Hey, give me the rundown on these folks."
Yep. Either go vote, go participate, or you're just going to have to clam up because you kind of forfeit your right to express a meaningful opinion if you don't participate in the process.
Yeah.
That's not that you don't have a right to speak, but you don't have a lot of credibility if you're not participating in the process. And that's really, really important, Danielle. And it's a great, great reminder for people to go vote this Saturday. It was a right that was bequeathed to us at great, great cost. And we need to honor the people who gave it to us by participating in it.
Yeah.
Also want to encourage everybody to continue to subscribe to the State of Freedom. This is the weapon whereby we are going to spread the voice of liberty and freedom, just like we did today, all across the state of Louisiana with two
And
loyalties.
beyond.
And beyond, and beyond. And so join us, support us, subscribe, donate, and advertise on the State of Freedom. Also, LACAG, LACAG.org. We really have become the watchdog group in the Louisiana legislature for Louisiana citizens. We are
That's right.
beholden to nobody except the Constitution and Louisiana citizens. And we need your support and your help to continue this fight. So if you're disillusioned about your politicians, disillusioned about your government, we are your army. We are your refuge, for lack of a better word, and we need your support and your help. So do that for us. And Danielle, it's always a pleasure. I can't believe an hour and 29 minutes has gone by. When I'm having fun with you, Danielle, it feels like about 45 seconds.
It's been a wonderful conversation today. I'm just so thrilled that we've had the opportunity to sit down with these gentlemen and really get an education ourselves and help to get the word out to people not only in Louisiana but beyond our borders who this would be affecting, because this fight is not just in the state of Louisiana. We've seen it happening all across the country, and so would just encourage people to equip yourself now that you know the basics. Like the Colonel said, the bell has been rung. So now, what are you going to do with it?
Well said. Well said.
Yeah.
God bless you, Danielle, and we will reconvene soon. And in the words of one of my biggest heroes, William F. Buckley Jr., inveighing, we shall go.
Awesome. See you soon, Chris. Thank
God
you.
bless.
God bless. Meet the world's first living, full-spectrum, certified organic CBDA hemp extract. Ness's hemp oil was extracted from seed to bottle without chemicals, solvents, or heavy metals, and it surpasses world-class standards for purity. This pure and powerful CBDA has been proven to reduce aches and pains, ease mental tension, and promote better sleep. To get yours today, visit the Shop Our Partners page at freedomstate.us. Thanks for joining us today on the State of Freedom. Be sure and check out the show notes for this episode. You can always go there and find the calls to action and resources mentioned in the show, and you can find out more information about our advertisers there as well. If you want to learn more about us or support our work, visit freedomstate.us. To get involved with Louisiana Citizen Advocacy Group, visit lacag.org. We'll see you next time. God bless.